Hello everybody, welcome back to another awesome StarCraft 2 cast. I am the Fish, and I'm going to be bringing you guys another 6M game. This game, I was fortunate enough to be allowed to spectate, and our players here today are going to be some pretty good ones. We've got, spawning in the bottom left corner, we have the Orange Zerg, and I don't actually know how to say this name, but xNmemcpy. I'm just going to call him Meme because I really don't know how to say that. Anyway, he's a top 8 high-ranked Masters player on the North American servers, and spawning in the top right as the Blue Terran is Pride. And of course Pride is number 103 as of this cast, Grandmaster on North American server. So finally getting the chance to see some really good players play on these maps. This map, of course, is going to be Devolution. It's a map by Baron. It was the first map made to test the concept of 6M, and recently got a bit of a makeover. It used to be a desert map, now it's a forest map. You can see how pretty it all looks. And so yeah, that's pretty cool. So it looks like Mem here is going to be going for an early hatchery. He's saving up a bunch of minerals, so it looks like he'll be dropping that. Nothing out of the ordinary. He's going to be doing a 14 hatch, which is pretty good, pretty economical build for 6M. And Pride's going to be building his first barracks at his natural choke point, which again is a totally viable strategy. You can defend this little choke. It's pretty small. It's a little smaller than most natural chokes, I think. You know, you can wall off there pretty easily. So both players are going to be now scouting out, see what the other one is up to. Them saying, well, this used to be a desert map. It was a desert map, now it's a forest, and now he's saying it's way harder to play on this maps. I think what he's referring to is the fact that you kind of have to expand a bunch of times. You can't just go for, you know, 2 bases or 3 bases and do an all-in as easily, because at that point your opponent is probably also going to be on the same amount of bases as you, and just having overall less units in general makes it a little bit easier to micro, and it gives a little bit more of a defender's advantage, I feel like. So that's one of the objectives, or one of the side effects of a 6M, is that we don't want to have these huge death ball battles where everybody just tries to max out by the 13-minute mark and then throw our armies at each other, and whoever's got the better composition wins. No, the idea behind the 6M is to encourage a more diverse gameplay, reward players who play better, and the way that that's going to happen is by encouraging players, or forcing players, to expand more to get more resources. And of course that will lead to more harassment, more engagements in different parts of the map rather than just sending them down the middle. So hopefully just leading to better gameplay overall. Pride's going to be going for a factory after barracks, and this is something that we see. Actually, I've seen builds where players will go for like a tank expand. I know that sounds kind of weird, but what they would do is go for, you know, barracks first, get a factory up. Once their siege mode finishes, then they will take their natural. And I think that's kind of, it's already starting to go out of style, I'd say. But tanks, of course, are pretty strong. You can use them to defend choke points, and I mean, I don't really need to go over all these points, but one thing that I will find is that some units that you thought were maybe not viable in 8M games are suddenly becoming more and more usable. For example, we see Hydralisks and Nidus Worms being used more, and we've seen battle cruisers come out in Zerg versus Terran, which is something that's kind of exciting for me, because of course you never really see battle cruiser, especially not in Terran versus Zerg. So I actually lost to a battle cruiser push. I was on 3 bases and I was macroing up a nice, it was like a Ling Infestor army. And right when my infestors were coming in, I had just popped like 4 infestors. The Terran player showed up at my base with a bunch of Marines and battle cruisers and like 1 or 2 siege tanks, and I was like, whoa, what do I do? So I tried to kill the battle cruisers with my queens and infestors, and he actually had Yamato gun researched at that point, so he was able to Yamato cannon my infestors, and once that happened, all I had was Zerglings. So it was pretty much GG from there because I couldn't just run them into a wall of bunkers at his main base. So that was a pretty fun game. He was a pretty good player, so I was kind of expecting to lose, but I definitely was not expecting to lose like that. So anyway, back to this game. We do see Pride moving out with 4 Hellions. He's got stim packs on the way, and he's got a third base. Up and coming. Meanwhile, Meme is going to be continuing to drone. If we look at the incomes, though, it's going to be favoring the Terran ever so slightly, as he does have that mule advantage. So he's going to be getting some nice hits off on these Zerglings, picking up a bunch of them. 5 kills, 2 kills on that one, and even more Hellions are now going to be joining the fray. So this Queen's going to be trying to pick off this Hellion, but again, some nice micro, and he's going to save that. Scan's going to take out some creep tumors here, and now Nima's going to be coming in here with another Queen to try and do some damage. A few more Zerglings, but a bad angle there. You don't want to engage on a straight line. Just like that, all those Zerglings get roasted away. So not the greatest engagement by our Zerg player, but the supply is still going to be favoring Zerg just a little bit. We do see +1/+1 on the way for the Zerg. Here are the Evo chambers. And meanwhile, back at home, the Terran, he's got a bunch of barracks coming down, and he's also going to be working on some upgrades. Now he's moving in here to try and get some drones. It looks like he's going to be able to take it off. Still more Zerglings. Wow, a lot of Zerglings dying there. And now he's going to be forced to pull these drones off the line. All of these Zerglings are going to die. And he's going to be able to do a lot of damage here. Oh, don't clump up drones. And a lot of drones getting roasted. They're going to have to turn around now, splitting them up pretty well. But that is a really bad situation for our Zerg player. More Zerglings are now going to come in here. Another Hellion finally drops dead, and a couple more Zerglings. It looks like they're finally going to be able to pick off these Hellions. Pride has stopped microing them. So a really nice bit of harassment. Pride is able to kind of abuse the terrain a little bit here and use Hellions to his advantage, and some really good micro by him. But we do still see that 11 more drones are now being spawned by our Zerg, so not the most catastrophic of losses for him, but the supply difference, now we do start to see the supply favoring the Terran, so the economic damage that was done is starting to make itself evident. We see Siege Tech is on the way. Another Siege Tank is coming out. Combat Shields, 10 Marines, and a bunch of missile turrets from those oh-so-pesky Mutalisks. Probably is what they're going to be defending for, and also from Infestors, which is actually the real threat, as we do have an Infestation Pit on the way. But we do see that our Zerg player still is only on 1 Extractor, and you have to be really careful, and as I say that, he takes a second. But you have to be really careful, and a third, but you have to be really careful about when you take your gas. Gas management and economy management are very important in this sort of gameplay. So it's not your typical thing where you just take your second gas whenever your build order tells you to. You have to be kind of conscious of when are you going to need the gas. So +2/+2 is going to be on the way for the Zerg player. The Terran player can't get that +2/+2 until his armory finish, which just happened, and we do see a starport coming down. So I'd imagine we'll be seeing probably some medevacs, eventually a second factory as well. And yeah, +2/+2 getting started for our Terran player, so a lot of heavy macro going on. 12.5 minutes into the game, we see both players are on 3 bases. And I'd say that the Terran player is slightly ahead because he was able to do some pretty good harassment, but it's still definitely anybody's game. We do see Neem taking a 4th base. He did work down these destructible rocks, which is going to help him to secure this base. This base, of course, though, is only minerals, no gas. And he's going to be continuing to scout out with some Zerglings to make sure that our Terran player isn't actually on 4 bases already. So he won't see a base there. A few more units coming down, and these Marines look like they're going to stim up to try and take this watchtower. And he won't see much of anything. He won't see these Zerglings moving its position. They're not going to try and take down these destructible debris, but Neem wants to take out these four Marines rather. He's going to be moving in and taking out one of them. 3 more again using the terrain to their advantage. But now this big army is going to be moving into position. And, ooh, watch out, Zerglings. 5th base for Neem is going to be morphing. And this is the part of the game where the macro and the multitasking really starts to get out of control, and we really start to see, you know, who's going to be able to win in the long run. So a run by these Zerglings, and he's actually going to decide against that to turn around and to engage at a very bad angle. A lot of Zerglings are going to get picked off, and the Zerglings are kind of not sure what to do, but they're going to be running. Looks like they're going to be running for the main, but no, there's a wall in the way. Scan going down. He sees them running for these SCVs. Probably the best thing that Neem can do with these Zerglings are basically now trapped, and they're not going to get too many units. And it looks like a couple Marines are going to die, but you know what? All these Zerglings are going to probably die as well. And that's a pretty good trade for the Terran. We do see the supply difference is now pretty huge. That was a lot of Zerglings that didn't do a lot of damage. So Spire now on the way. There was a drop that went down in the 3rd base while all that was happening, and a drop at the 5th base as well. So while all that was going down, 2 bases were sniped by our Terran. So I totally missed that, but it kind of goes to show you what you can do with multitasking in this mashup. Now a very, very scary big army is going to be moving in for Pride. He's got +2/+2. Looks like our Zerg player is going to be working on +3/+3, and 2 Infestors coming out. 1 Infestor trying to move in. A nice fungal on all those units, but he's not going to be able to finish them off, and the Medevac's going to start to heal him up. Nice positioning by all these siege tanks. He's going to start to put the siege on all these creep tumors, pick them off. And it looks like Neem is going to be setting up a flank with a bunch of these Zerglings. Pride's going to be moving in with a bunch of Marines. A few Infestors, but not enough energy on them for some fungals. He will manage to get 1 siege tank, but at the expense of a bunch of Zerglings. Pride taking care not to group up his Marines. Of Infestor getting sniped, and it looks like this hatchery is going to go down. Meanwhile, at the main base, more poking and prodding. And it looks like he wants to go for a 2-pronged attack here. All these units are going to be moving in from both sides. But Neem is actually going to be backing off. He's going to be sacking this base in favor of taking a new 3rd up here. And he's going to try and pull off a defense using these Infestors and Zerglings. +3/+3 on the way for our Terran, as well as another base. He's going to be moving in with a bunch of siege tanks here. Getting in some really nice position, and that's the go button. Infestors moving in. No fungals, 1 fungal going down, but 2 Infestors are going to get dropped. And all those Zerglings are going to be dead. Another nice fungal, and more Zerglings coming in, but the tanks are going to pick them off immediately. More Marines are going to die, but there's still a bunch left. More Zerglings coming in, they're going to back off. Too many tanks there to really do anything, and this base is going to be sieged. He's going to looks like it's going to be a manor layer, as I think that's going to be the end of the game, and yes, it is. GG from Neem. So that's what a game really looks like, and I'm sorry I missed those 2 drops going down both at the same time. I was too busy watching those Zerglings, but you kind of get the idea of how these games can progress and what players can do when they've got enough sort of skill to do it. So anyway, high levels of play. We're starting to see some people on these new maps, and I hope you guys are all having a lot of fun. Anyway, if you guys want to play some games on this map or any other 6M maps, go to channel 7M. It's a lot of fun. We have a blast doing it, and some very friendly people. You can always find a game to either play or spectate. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully we'll be seeing a lot more high-level games on this map and other 6M maps. So anyway, thank you all for watching.